Mike, everybody's here but Kathy.
She's not there.
Mike?
What's that? He's not here. How's Stephanie? She's doing okay.
Tired, but good. She's going through some.
Maybe at all, huh? Yeah.
Everybody's muted. Everybody's here.
My second stage plus hours. Oh, I know. I got you. All right. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the March 24th Planning Commission meeting. Would you all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Thank you very much. And Mr. Spatafor, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Hardy,
Here.
Mr. Tuckfield,
Here.
Mr. Meyerly,
Here.
Ms. Smith,
Ms. Smith has got an excused absence. This is loud.
Mr. Tremblay,
Here.
Mr. Oliver,
Here.
Mr. Spatafor is here.
Okay. We have a quorum. All right.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we excuse Ms. Smith from any votes tonight.
Okay. Motion by Mr. Meyerly to excuse Kathy Smith from any roll call votes by Mr. Meyerly. Anyone want to second? I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes. All right, the next thing. Approval of previous meeting minutes. Is there any discussion?
If there's none, Mr. Chairman, I'll go ahead and move to approve the previous meeting minutes as presented.
Okay, motion by Mr. Spatafor to approve the previous meeting minutes. Support. Supported by Mr. Oliver. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes. All right, let me see what we got here. Approval of tonight's agenda. Is there discussion?
If there's no changes, I'll approve the agenda as submitted.
Okay. Motion
Second.
to approve tonight's agenda by Mr. Meyerly,
It's been seconded.
Second.
seconded by Mr. Tremblay. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes. All right, old business. Mr. Box, do we have any old business?
None this evening.
All right, moving on to new business. Macomb Industrial Park Unit 1, extension of time plan, located on the north side of 23 Mile Road, a quarter mile east of Hayes Road. Permanent parcel 08183260001. Saul Deanna, petitioner. Mr. Box.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commission. As you mentioned, this is a property at 23 in Industrial Drive. It is an industrial zoned property that has an approved site plan, and they're seeking an extension of time for 1 year. So it would be set to expire on March 5th, 2027 if approved. Site plan was approved originally on March 5th, 2024. And again, it would have expired or did expire on March 5th, 2026, but they requested an extension prior to that, which is why we're here this evening. They've indicated in a submitted letter that plans have been approved by engineering in February of this year, and they intend to comply with the next steps, which I can confirm this morning. They did actually take the first step in posting a draft of their bond. So they are very close to having shovels in the ground on this site. So that is why they're seeking an extension. So it didn't expire back on March 6th. Staff reviewed this, and overall planning has no concerns about this, no zoning-related issues. Engineering had no objections to the request, and overall staff is in support.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Box. Is the petitioner here tonight? Come on up to the podium, please. State your name and address for the record.
Jay Jigolewski, 4178 Beatty Road.
Okay. Did you have anything you wanted to add, sir?
I have no comment. Thank you.
Okay, commissioners, any questions for the petitioner or Mr. Box?
Just wanted petitioner, what Mr. Box said, you concur with that?
Yeah,
You're
absolutely.
getting pretty close.
Yes, yes. Our full plan was April on
Okay,
the full beginning, yeah,
good.
of 2026.
Okay.
So,
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
All right.
I want to
Anyone else?
I just had a question, Mr. Bach. Given the immaterial change, this could have been handled potentially as a technical or administrative change.
No, extensions of time always come
Is it?
before you. This was a plan that was approved by you. They're not changing anything on the plan. They're simply extending when it expires.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else?
Yes. Sir, can you spell your last name again?
Yes, it's DZIEGELEWSKI.
And if the commission approves an extension of time, then will a pre-construction meeting then be scheduled, or is one already been scheduled?
I believe one has been scheduled, yes. I don't have all the information on that. Sal, the petitioner, does. But I believe from what he has said, that one has been scheduled, yes.
Into
Mr. Spatafor, if I could, they submitted this morning a draft of their letter of credit, which would serve as their bond. That will be reviewed internally. If that's approved, then they'll submit the final letter of credit. That means their bond is posted. At that time, then they can schedule the pre-construction meeting.
Okay. That makes sense.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, if I could.
Mr.
To the applicant, just noting here that this is a request for a one-year extension. Do you feel that's a sufficient time length?
Yes, yes, I do.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. This is an item where we don't need to open it to the public, so if anybody would like to make a motion, now would be the time.
Mr. Chairman, if there's no further discussions, I'd like to make a motion to grant a one-year extension of time for the site plan for permanent parcel 08183260001. This will be based upon the review by the departments, no significant changes, and the fact that it looks like the applicant is making a good faith effort to continue and start construction this year.
Okay, and I'll go ahead and second that. Mr. Spatafora, would you please call the vote?
Mr. Oliver?
Yes.
Mr. Spatafor votes yes. Mr. Hardy?
Yes.
Mr. Tuckfield?
Yes.
Mr. Meyerly?
Yes.
And Mr. Tremblay?
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. You got your year's extension.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next item. Sheets Gas Station revised site plan located on the northwest corner of Gratiot and Hall Road. Permanent parcel 0836452-022. MC Development Holdings, LLC petitioner. Mr. Box.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commission. You're all familiar with the site, Hall and Gratiot. This is a Sheetz gas station. Site plan has been approved previously. That included a masonry wall on the property boundary. So the ordinance requires a masonry wall or any fence to be on the property boundary or a minimum of 3.5 feet off the boundary. The reason for the 3.5 feet being that you need proper room to maintain. If you're going to pull it off the boundary, you need room to maintain what's behind the wall. So that's what they're seeking this evening. Again, the site was approved originally in December of 2024. The applicant did go through a technical change process in November of 2025, but at this time, they are considering moving the wall 3.5 feet off the property boundary, as I discussed. We actually talked internally. This is something that, in a lot of circumstances, we would have handled administratively, but because of the nature of the project, we wanted to make sure that the neighbors were notified and would be aware that the wall would no longer be on the boundary, but rather off the boundary. So if they see someone back there maintaining that 3.5 feet, they would understand that they're still on the Sheetz property, maintaining their own property, not trespassing on their property.
Oh, gotcha.
So that being said, the buildings, they comply with all their setbacks. Again, nothing has really changed with regards to the building or the gas canopy. The drive aisles are in the same locations. During the tech change that I mentioned in November, MDOT did require what we call a pork chop, or a right-in, right-out only on Hall Road. So that was changed since the last time you've seen it, but that was approved administratively back in November. No other changes with regards to circulation are proposed. Again, all of their parking and everything is remaining the same, and was approved previously. There's no changes to that. Same with the sidewalks, no changes. They're proposing the 8-foot all the way around. The landscaping did change slightly because, again, the wall moved in, but it's still the buffer of trees with the inclusion of the new 16-foot wide access path to the detention basin. Again, the 6-foot decorative masonry walls proposed on the north and western sides of the property. Again, they're moving at 3.5 feet, which you see in the drawings here. Applicant is proposing 8-inch river stone for that 3.5 feet on the far side of the wall, which again, they'll have to maintain, keeping any weeds down. That will be their responsibility. But they do need space to get back there to maintain it. So that's where the 3.5 feet comes from. Again, the floor plans, elevations, nothing has changed. I will note that the sign on the Hall Road side was on the other side of the entrance previously. That was part of what was changed on the technical change in November. It went from the western side to the eastern side of that driveway. Their lighting plan, they did change a few lights. The lights didn't move. The heights aren't anything different. They just changed the style of the light fixture itself. But again, they resubmitted the lighting plan, and lighting intensity has not increased from the changes of what they have proposed. The trash enclosure has actually gotten a little bit smaller. It was 35 feet by 16 feet. It's actually decreased now to 28 by 16. And again, those were approved administratively as part of that technical change back in November. The outdoor sales area, again, that was part of their special land use. Nothing has changed with that. Everything has remained the same. They're simply moving the wall in. So staff has reviewed this. Planning is recommending approval. Engineering had no objections to the revisions as submitted. Fire requests that they comply with IFC 2021. Public Works had no comments, and assessing had no objections.
And Mr. Box, you may have already said it, but the reason for moving the wall in 3.5 feet?
So I'll defer to the applicant, but my understanding is it has to do with the continuous footing. There's some large trees that are existing on neighboring properties, and by creating the continuous footing, it might impact some of those root systems and potentially harm those trees. So they wanted to move it back a little bit. But again, I'll defer to them if they want to explain that a little bit further. I will also note that I know some of the neighbors are here. One of them I did speak to in particular. I know Sheets was doing some due diligence. And should the wall be on the property boundary, they were going to have to remove one of the neighbor's fence because he has a fence already on the boundary. So they had come to kind of a verbal agreement. Obviously, they don't need that anymore. They've moved the wall back. The neighbor was a little frustrated by the fact that he's no longer getting a new fence on his property, but again, that it's no longer required. But I did discuss that with him and told him I would let you guys make you aware of that situation.
Okay, thank you. Petitioner, come on up to the podium, please. Again, state your name and address for the record.
Good evening, Eric Williams, 555 South Old Woodward, Birmingham, Michigan. I appreciate it, Josh. You know, there were some minor changes that have been dealt with administratively. In speaking with staff, you know, again, they felt that this should come in front of Planning Commission, so here we are. Main change, like Josh said, is this isn't simply a strip footing either. It's actually a spread footer based on just the linear footage of wall. So after the structural engineer looked at it, compared it to the underlying soils, they said, hey, we need a little bit bigger footing here than what was initially accounted for. And then the other part that Josh mentioned was the trees that are on the neighboring sites. If we were to actually construct the wall as it was proposed originally on the property line, we'd actually be, it essentially would have been built on their site, which, you know, it's not allowed. So we're here seeking just that 3.5 feet of relief. That should hopefully allow us to maintain trees on the neighboring sites, and then also ensure that we're screening the site properly from the neighbors. But other than that, it seems like a pretty straightforward change. We appreciate your guys' time this evening.
Okay, commissioners.
I got one question. no water runoff will impact the neighbors, so still stay on your property?
Correct. So next step here will actually be a resubmission to AEW, the township's engineering consultant, to verify that. It was accounted for in the original design. Some of the site runoff from the neighboring sites actually drains through the Sheets property. So that was already reviewed and accounted for. It's just going to continue to do what it was originally designed to do.
So the neighbor's property that might fall
Correct.
to you'll pick that water up and
Yep,
it'll be removed. So
100%.
I guess I'm getting at no pooling of
No,
water.
no, that was made very clear by township staff. They wanted to make sure that was all accounted for. We went out, got additional survey work, probably back in November of '25, actually, and that was one of the last items that we were going back and forth with the township on. So I think everybody's come to an agreement that that's been dealt with appropriately.
Good, okay, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Spatafora?
Is it Mr. Limbs? I'm sorry, can you spell your last name?
Williams,
William, I'm sorry.
do you need it spelled? You good?
The new secretary for this particular.
Lucky you.
Mr. Williams, thank you. I wanted to know if you envision any type of maintenance plan for weed control for that stone bed now outside, since you're moving the walls in.
Yeah, of course. So I think what we're going to start with is a weed barrier, and then obviously the river rock that was proposed. I think you guys have seen the Sheets sites that have gone up. They take very good care of the property. I can't speak to the intervals that it needs to be serviced, whether that's, weed whacking, weed killer, hand weeding. I'm not quite sure what that plan is. I know Josh, Mr. Van Tiffelen were very clear that that is going to fall into our court. So Sheets is very aware that this is something that will need to be dealt with on a regular basis.
Okay, thank you. Nothing further.
Anyone else?
You answered my question.
Okay. Mr. Sheffield?
Yes, Mr. Williams, you mentioned that the soils required a wider footing. I believe that's what I heard you say. What was the change? What was the original footing width to what you believe you have to move it to, roughly?
So I think where we're at right now is a 3-foot wide footing. Where it was before, honestly, Mr. Tuckfield, I'm not sure, but it did expand in width. I think we had assumed it was going to be just a strip footing, and it
But they said with the soils you had to go to 3 feet?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Obviously, we have a minimum in our ordinance for setback. If you're going to move a fence or wall off of the property line, you're sitting at that minimum. I'm not sure if there's a maximum. Can you just tell us your thoughts on that? So you're just trying to keep it to the minimum amount inside your property, or what kind of designated the distance you chose?
So in speaking with Josh, quite frankly, we were hoping to not come back in front of the planning commission, if I'm going to be completely honest with you. After speaking with them, they obviously said, you need to go down this path. We had you guys have seen, it's under construction out there. It was staked out. We walked the site with the contractor. We looked at it and we said 3.5 feet is more than enough for us to work, get in, do what we need to do. Obviously that meets the minimum, so that was really where our head was at. We didn't want to make more substantial of a change than necessary. The other piece that we're battling with in the southwestmost corner is the detention pond. So the further we pulled that wall off the property line, it reduced the storage volume. So we were juggling that piece. Obviously the other areas not as critical, but it just felt appropriate to keep it to the minimum necessary.
Okay. My concern here, which I think is probably part of why we're sitting here today, obviously when this went through originally, there was a significant amount of voiced concern about the development there. 3.5 feet is probably wide enough, but obviously it's probably the minimum wide enough to be able to service that. And I think I'm just going to voice what I assume was Josh's concern, that we have the potential for issues if anybody maintaining your property goes onto the neighbor's property. I certainly don't want to assume that's the case. I know the neighbors are all good-natured people, but anytime there's dislike of a neighbor, and if the neighbor is not who you want, that's always a possibility. So I guess my question is, are you confident that you can service that without potentially causing any disruptions for the neighbors?
Yeah.
Or any incidents?
Yep, we'll follow all township codes, ordinances in terms of hours of operation for maintenance and things of that nature, noise ordinance, all of that. I know, obviously Sheets is rolling out in Michigan. They want to be good neighbors, good partners to the community. So that's definitely something that will be brought up with management as the store is open, it'll be very thoroughly discussed to make sure that there are no problems.
Okay, very good. I want to make sure, obviously, the neighbors have already had their lives torn up with the development behind them, that we don't have more issues for them going forward, so.
100% agree.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Anyone else? No one? Okay. At this time, I'd like to have a motion to open this item to the public.
So moved, Mr.
Motion
Chairman.
by Mr. Oliver,
Support.
supported by Mr. Meyerly. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes. So folks, if you want to come up, oh, you're already there. All right, you got 4 minutes, and we take all of your comments, we save them to the end, and then we have Mr. Box comment on them. All right, go ahead, sir.
John
Name it.
Parkinson, my address is on file with the clerk.
I'm sorry, Mr., through the chair.
John
sir, can you
Parkinson.
slowly say and spell your name, please?
John. Last is Parkinson, Parkinson.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
There we go.
Good evening, board and members of the community. I cannot believe I have to even be here to address you tonight. It has come to our attention that Sheets, or MC Development Holdings LLC, has requested to move the barrier wall from the property line to roughly 3 feet onto their property. Our home is located adjacent to the property. We'll have the biggest portion of that wall. From my understanding, the township requires a 24-inch footing. I'm not sure if that's true or not. Regardless of the size of the footing, they would be digging into our very mature trees or tree roots at this current location. This board and its members already allowed the project to deny trees for barrier or light diffusers to mitigate light pollution into our home. This board and its members always talk about practical difficulties. There would be no practical difficulty to Sheets or MC Development Holdings LLC to move this barrier wall 3 feet closer to their site. I have a question. Who missed this when doing the first site plan review? If this board denies Sheets or MC Development Holdings LLC the right to move this barrier wall 3 feet or more onto their property, it would be detrimental to our trees, our liberty, and our privacy. If our trees die due to cutting into them or the roots, who becomes responsible for them if they fall onto either property? We have lived here 16 years, and these trees are currently healthy. We ask and petition this board to allow this barrier wall to be moved the 3 feet or more onto their property to avoid cutting into our trees and our roots at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Oh.
Good evening. My name's David Harms. I reside at 24240 Darwin. I'm the one that was supposedly mad about my fence, but I'm not mad about the fence. I'm mad about the way everything went down. But my main question is, what's going to keep people from cutting through here? We have a lot of traffic on that corner. I mean, I don't want somebody living back there again. We've had people living back there before. And my second concern is Mr. Brockelmeyer told me that the trees that were dead laying on my fence were going to be taken care of. And the other dead trees that are laying on the lines were going to be taken care of. And it doesn't look like they're going to do either one. And I'd like to know who's going to be responsible for them trees. And I guess that's about it, really.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Anyone? Okay. Then I need a motion to close the public portion.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Oliver.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Tremblay. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Then the public portion is now closed. All right, Mr. Box.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess just a couple of things to follow up on with regards to the footing and who, potentially missed that in the site plan. It was not missed. The masonry wall was shown. We do not have a 24-inch minimum footing, to my knowledge. We have a requirement for a continuous footing. And as Mr. Williams stated, when they originally did the site plan, they thought they could do a footing directly under the wall. Obviously, the next step after the site plan is approved is they go through engineering, and that's where they discovered the footing needed to be wider. So it was not missed at the planning, the site plan phase. With regards to the trees, you know, obviously that's a neighbor dispute. If there are dead trees laying across the property boundary where those trees originated from, that's something that is not in our purview this evening. We're here to talk about the site plan for Sheets. If there are a neighbor dispute, they can handle that in circuit court.
Okay. All right. Commissioners, back to you guys. Anything? Anybody comments? Any questions?
Mr. Chairman, I did. Josh, the one individual, the homeowner mentioned a pathway around the property. I am not familiar enough about which properties have fences, but I suppose I could see a scenario where there's a wall and there's fences on the adjacent property line, and it can create more or less a tunnel or a pathway around the perimeter of the property that has river stone on it. Did you envision this? Did you guys talk about it? Is there a solution here, or?
No, obviously, that would be, if someone is using this 3.5-foot area of river rock as a cut-through, as he suggested, that would be trespassing on Sheets' property. And I'm sure that they would not appreciate that, and they would probably call the authorities.
If I could, Mr. Williams, I'm sorry. Same question to you. Did you have any thoughts on that possibility?
I think to Josh's point, obviously private property, same scenario. We do need to access it to maintain it, so I think there's obviously kind of the give and take there. I think, you know, when Sheets originally presented, they spoke to the amount of security cameras, the staff on site being well aware of, you know, how to handle that in any particular scenario. So I think this is, you know, one of the oddities throughout their, you know, their store holdings, where there's going to be some discussions that need to be had with management to ensure that that is overseen, and if somebody is back there, it's obviously addressed appropriately.
I mean, with all due respect to yourself and Josh, it's behind a wall on the outside perimeter of the property. I recognize that there's requirements and cameras, but with a 6-foot wall, I feel skeptical that site staff are going to see somebody going around the perimeter of the wall.
More so if somebody is coming and going, is more my point. They're going to have to walk through the Sheets property, which, again, that would be noticed. You know, it might not be noticed as soon as it's occurring, but if it's a regular occurrence, that would obviously be addressed. And at the same time, I think, as Josh discussed, you know, we would hope that the neighbors, should that be occurring, they can obviously call the authorities, and we would do the same if somebody did need to be removed.
So the wall starts probably approximately 3 feet from the sidewalk on the edge of the property.
Along
So the sidewalk along Grashit, for
correct.
example. And again, my apologies, I don't recall the site conditions enough. Is that outer property have a rear-facing fence, the one adjacent to Grashit?
The residential piece, the northeastmost corner, I believe you're asking.
Yes, the northeast, and then obviously the southwest corner as well.
The northeast and southwest both have exterior fences, or perimeter fences, however you want to describe it.
I can certainly see your point. I can see Mr. Box's point. To me, this does come close, in my mind, to a health and safety issue. I'm not sure what a reasonable compromise is. Obviously, you still have to be able to maintain, but I would hate to see this be a cut through. And I think, you know, when we listen to comments, a lot of times we don't have comments that are always relative to the site plan process. I think this is a relevant comment, and I have some concern over it. I'm not looking to push something down your throat, but if you have any suggestions, or if anybody else on the board has thoughts, I feel a little uncomfortable with that, to be honest.
I just, the one thing that comes to mind, and I don't know if this is a perfect solution, is, you know, is there a way to add a 3.5-foot gate like you'd see into somebody's backyard, you know, on either end? I don't know if it's a perfect scenario, because I think in any case, if somebody wants to get back there,
They can still get back there, yes.
but, you know, in my eyes, if it's, I'm going to use like a pool gate as an example, like a 3.5-foot wide pool gate, obviously we would make it taller, try to make it match the brick wall. So there, I don't know exactly how that would turn out, but that could be a possibility.
And I think that was part of my question with regards to the adjacent fences, because obviously if they don't have a fence, it's a moot point. I think I personally would be more comfortable with something like that. I don't believe we can tell you what to put on the site plan. But again, to me, I don't know the feeling of the rest of the board, that does go to the health and safety issue. So I appreciate it. Obviously not looking to rub salt in the wound of having to modify and come back, but I believe it's a valid concern.
Yeah, and I guess the other piece, and on paper, it is so hard to tell how these things would marry up. For instance, in the northeast corner, it looks like the neighboring fence is actually set back without having a scale.
It's not on the line.
I'm gonna say it's 10 feet, right?
Okay.
I'm sorry, 10 feet west of where our wall begins.
I see.
So,
It's not all the way to the end of your wall. It's where that purple line probably cuts through, because the rest of it's probably set back.
correct. So I don't know if there's a perfect solution, to be frank with you. If we were to add a gate, would that do it? If somebody wants to cut through, that adjacent piece of right of way, they can.
I'm assuming that this is a fairly time-sensitive issue for you?
Yes.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, I got a quick question. Josh, can you go back to the material that they're going to use on that? What is your material?
It's
Did I hear 8-inch stone?
It's going to be river rock.
Yeah,
It's going to be what's on the ground. Not the wall is not river rock.
yeah. Well, what I'm getting at is, you're not going to ride a bike on river rock or stone, and it'd be a little tricky even to walk on that. So,
Charlie, wouldn't River Rock,
No.
forgive me, but aren't they the small oval flat
eh,
stones?
they're not flat, they're round, they're quite round, and if it's 8-inch, it'd be tricky to walk on 8-inch stone.
We offered 8-inch in depth. We didn't necessarily specify the diameter, but the river rock is, it's.
If it's river rock, it's usually this big.
Yeah, we're not talking big boulders, and we're not talking.
Yeah.
deep gravel.
Either way, I'm thinking it not be did this in my mind, if I was gonna if I was thinking, because I know exactly what I was kind of thinking the same thing. What's gonna stop people from, thinking they're taking a shortcut? But if they're not gonna take a bike on River Rock, that's for sure. You're just not gonna push, you're gonna push it, and nobody's gonna push a bike. They're gonna ride a bike. And really, 3 foot don't give you a lot of room to take a bike, or you're gonna be trespassing. So I don't know if there's some signage you could put out there, but, you can't put signage on other people's property. A gate, I just don't know if,
The other thing that, again, there's no perfect solution, but maybe we could look at putting evergreens kind of to shield that area from the right of way, if that makes sense. Make it less obvious. If you're on the sidewalk and there's larger evergreen trees kind of blocking this, pathway, I guess we'll call it, that may just, deter people enough that they're not poking around behind the tree to figure out what's back there.
Is it possible to maybe cap the ends with the wall and allow the access facing into the property as opposed to out toward the sidewalk?
I guess, Josh, would that be, I'm not sure exactly how that would look. If there's a break in the wall, is that acceptable by code?
So we would still have a gate typically, if there's a break in the wall. I think if I'm looking at these drawings correctly, are these, I don't have the full drawing in front of me, so I don't have all the notes, but I believe these are the fence lines. These,
The X, the lines?
yeah, it appears even if the wall was back on the property boundary as originally required, there would still be a gap there, whether the wall was on the boundary or not.
Isn't this a wall then also all the way to the extreme east end parallel? There's 2 lines with X's in it. One meets up with the property line, probably another 3 feet past or 3 feet west of where that wall starts.
Correct.
Sorry, Charlie, I hijacked your comment. I didn't
no,
mean to.
no, That's what we're here for.
You know, I guess maybe what makes sense is, so if we add, I'm gonna just say an L, northeast, southwest most corner, we'll have to figure out the exact location that might work. And we take and maybe we put an access gate back behind the trash enclosure, kind of somewhere where it's tucked away into the site. Is that?
They can still walk on their property.
They kind of.
So just go around the.
Sir, if you're going to be at the podium, please state your name and address for us, so we have it on
Bob
record.
Kirk, 19500 Hall Road, Clinton Township.
Okay, thank you. Did you get that?
I'm saying is we put the L on there.
They're just gonna
they'll go on
cross
their
onto the property to the
and go
north.
Around it.
I have a question, Mr. Chair. Mr. Williams, do you have another scenario similar to this adjacent to residential developments in any of your other sheet stores here in Michigan? And to your knowledge? I mean,
Not this exact scenario, no. I think in many cases, we've had fence lines that have been on the property line, but setback like this.
Setback with river rock or some other type of stone that
Correct.
separates? Okay.
Correct.
I will say that, this to the board that don't understand River Rock, it's probably about that size. And if you mat it when you put it down, it stays way cleaner than even grass, because grass just keeps growing. But the River Rock does stay pretty clean. I've seen that over the years, so.
Is there anyone else?
I'm done.
Everybody's good? Mr. Tuckfield?
Yeah, I don't think I have any more comments.
All right. Do we have a motion on this item?
Mr. Brock, what kind of motion, just approval of,
This would be for approval or denial.
of,
This is not of their site plan.
that's all?
Yep.
We don't need to identify the 3 foot or nothing like that?
Nope.
Okay. Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Oliver?
I move forward that we approve this. I can understand the situations both ways, but my motion is approve this.
Okay, motion to approve the Sheet Station revised site plan by Mr. Oliver. Do we have a second?
I'll go ahead and second that.
Seconded by Mr. Spatafora.
Do we want to amend the motion to include the reasons why?
What's that?
Do we want to amend the motion to include the reasons why we're approving it?
Do you need that, Mr. Bach?
It would be helpful if you certainly state the permanent parcel number and that you're approving the revised site plan. But then, yes, if you want to attach any reasonings, that would be helpful.
I would suggest a couple of reasonings, if you don't mind, Charlie.
No?
That all applicable ordinances are met, and that the proposed change is technically an administrative change. It was brought to us so that the neighbors would have transparency to the change.
Thank you, Mr. Romley, and I'll add the parcel number. Is it?
Mr. Chairman, if I could have just a brief discussion on the motion, once Charlie's ready.
Okay. Let's finish the motion first.
I can't get where's the parcel number, Dan?
Okay, it's all right, take your time.
On the agenda.
I can read it to you if you want, Charlie.
Yeah, could somebody read it out real quick?
It's 08-36-452-022.
You okay with that, board?
I would just have one comment, and that is that I believe we do define technical change, but I don't know that we define it cleanly, and I would be hesitant, even though I understand Mr. Tremblay's reasoning to include it in a motion and set some sort of precedent on what was a technical change and what wasn't.
I'm only stating what the director stated.
He stated that normally they would put it through as a technical change, but I believe that that is a subjective judgment call that the planning director and the engineering director make, that we leave to their discretion, essentially.
That's correct. It's the planning director, the township engineer, and the building official if somebody requests a minor change, the three of us have to unanimously agree that it's minor enough to approve administratively.
I'm okay with leaving that off.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's why we're gonna make it then.
All right.
We stated.
So a motion by Mr. Oliver, seconded by Mr. Spatafora. Did you have a comment, Mr. Spatafora?
No, I was
Okay.
just looking for permission.
All right.
Good, Dan?
Okay, Mr. Oliver.
Yes.
Mr. Spatafora votes yes. Mr. Tuckfield.
No.
Mr. Meyerly.
Yes.
Mr. Tremblay.
Yes.
And Mr. Hardy.
Yes. Okay, motion passes. All right. Next item. Verizon Wireless and APC Tower, Special Land Use and Site Plan, located on the southwest corner of 22 Mile Road and Card. Permanent parcel 08272000026, APC Towers 4 LLC petitioner. Mr. Box.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commission. As you mentioned, this is at the intersection of 22 Mile and Card Road. It's a rather large piece of property. They are seeking a site plan and special land use approval to construct a 140-foot tall monopole wireless communication tower. So for the special land use portion, I'll go through the 8 criteria like we normally do. So the proposed use shall be of such a nature that vehicular and pedestrian traffic shall not be more hazardous than normal. Obviously, this is not a site that produces vehicular or pedestrian traffic, so the existing conditions on site would generally remain the same. The proposed use shall be of such a nature that vehicular and pedestrian traffic shall not be more hazardous than normal. Again, it's not going to be anything, it's not producing trips. The proposed use shall be designed with respect to location, size, intensity, site layout, and periods of operation. There are no periods of operation. It's not going to produce noise, fumes, smoke, lights, or other items. And as I said, this is a large parcel. It meets the requirements of the setbacks from adjacent properties and structures. The proposed use shall be of such that the proposed location and height of buildings or structures will not interfere or discourage appropriate land development. First of all, there are a number of large towers in this area. This is immediately adjacent to an ITC corridor that has a couple large towers in the area. It is set back significantly from other buildings. And a lot of instances when folks come looking to place cell towers, it's difficult because the township is very developed, so meeting setbacks can be difficult. In this instance, they're kind of doing it the other way around. They're building the tower now. It's my understanding, I'll defer to the applicant, but my understanding is they'll figure out about parceling off and potentially developing any other pieces of the site after the fact. So anybody who would go in there in the future would know that they're moving next to this versus this coming in after you've already built your home. The proposed use shall relate harmoniously with adjacent land uses. Again, there's other towers in the area, including one of the ITC towers that actually has cell equipment on it immediately adjacent. The proposed use is necessary for public convenience at the proposed location. So township staff does often get calls from residents about cell service in this area. This is actually something that the township supervisor has been interested in fixing. I know some cell towers have been in communications with multiple different properties around this area, but this is the one that has come before us this evening. So it is definitely needed. As I mentioned, we get a lot of complaints from residents about cell service in this area. The proposed use is so designed, located, and planned, and shall be operated in such a manner that the public health, safety, and welfare will be protected. Again, this is set back pretty significantly from neighboring properties. It meets all the requirements. Additionally, I believe the pole that they're designing is self-collapsing, meaning it will collapse in a very small footprint, even though it is 140 feet tall. The proposed use shall not be detrimental or injurious to the neighborhood within which it is located, nor shall such use operate as a deterrent to future land uses permitted. Again, this is a vacant site. Any development that will come after the fact. It's in a neighborhood that already has large towers, including a cell tower, just on the adjacent property to the south. With regards to the site plan itself, as you see here, it is a monopole and it complies with the ordinance in terms of the front, side, and rear setbacks. Applicant is proposing a 12-foot wide gravel drive from Card Road. The paved driveway entrance is what's required by ordinance, which they are providing. There are no parking or loading requirements for the proposed use. No sidewalks nor pedestrian pathways are proposed at this time. They are providing the 8-foot wide landscaped area around the equipment that would be on the ground. That is per ordinance. They did provide elevations. There's no signage for this. And then there are 2 LED lights to be mounted in the canopy support posts under the canopy. So they'll be connected to a technician operated on an on-off switch with a timer and a 1-hour maximum lit. But again, that's in the equipment cabinet area. It's not up in the air that would disturb any of the neighbors. So a couple things to note. They did request to be on this agenda this evening. They had a few items that they still needed to clean up, one of which was ownership. They were originally signed by the applicant as if they were the owner. They provided a purchase agreement, but they haven't actually purchased it. In front of you this evening, we left an updated version where they did get sign off by the actual owner, which is in a trust, so the person in charge of the trust did sign off. The other item is, again, the engineering department and the planning department mentioned that there was some discussion about lease area and possible easements. And there was some conflicts with that. Some of the landscaping was not in what they were calling the leased area. So we kind of gave them some options to either expand what they call the lease area or the easement, or remove that altogether. Since they would own the entire parcel, they wouldn't need an easement at this time. Eventually, when it gets developed, that will take place, most likely. So they did submit an updated plan. Staff has not fully reviewed this, so though we are generally in support of this, we would request that if this is approved this evening, it be approved with the condition that we can confirm that what they submitted yesterday morning is sufficient with what we had asked them for.
Okay.
I guess a few others, fire requests that they comply with IFC, no specific comments from Public Works, and no objections from assessing.
All right. Petitioner, please state your name and address for the record.
Good evening. My name is Bob Prisbillo. I represent Verizon Wireless and APC Towers. Last name is P-R-Z-Y-B-Y-L-O. Address is 24242 Northwestern Highway, Southfield, Michigan, 48075.
Okay. And did you have anything you'd like to add to Mr. Box's report?
I guess it would depend on how in-depth you would to want me to go. I mean, we provided some propagation maps that show our Verizon in this area has a service gap in the network. And if Josh, do you have those propagation maps that you can put up?
They were in their packets. I don't have one to put up.
So
on
if
the
you
screen.
look at this, map here, this is a good visual representation of the gap in the network. These colored triangles here that you see, these are our existing sites that we are currently operating on. This is our proposed location here, and then you can see what these orange spots are, or what we call a heat map, is a visual representation of the service gap that we have in the network. So you can see, we've kind of got the whole area surrounded, but in the middle, And this particular service gap really centers around that residential neighborhood and the school facilities, Dakota High School and the other school facilities. So we have been working on this project for several years. We've worked with the supervisor and Josh over the last, I don't know, year plus, trying to find a location that not only meets the ordinance requirements, but also meets the needs of filling that service gap. And so we, with the township being so heavily developed, especially in this area, it was a very difficult challenge. We came upon this parcel. We were able to negotiate a purchase agreement with the property owner. Unfortunately, there are no existing structures in the area that we can co-locate on. There is that ITC tower next to us that T-Mobile's on. We're actually in discussions, APC Towers is in discussions with T-Mobile about coming off that tower and co-locating on this tower if we do get approval. ITC transmission towers just aren't a viable option anymore for wireless carriers. All of those ITC sites that carriers are on, including Verizon, are actively pursuing coming off of them. Just because they were never designed to be a wireless support structure. There's too much equipment, there's too much weight that's involved, and they just were never designed for that. So when the networks were originally built out, 30 years ago, there wasn't nearly the amount of equipment and technology that we have nowadays. So in order to limit the amount of towers in communities, we have to be able to put this amount of equipment on a particular site. So that makes these transmission towers just not viable anymore. So that's why we're here before you tonight. That's just kind of like a 30,000-foot overview, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have or get more specific if you wish.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners?
I was going to ask about the UTC tower. You answered my question regarding that. With respect to having others co-locate on your tower, is that typical to have competitors co-locate on your towers?
Yes, APC Towers is in the business of renting vertical space or renting tower space. So APC Towers has partnered with Verizon Wireless in this particular project. So APC Towers will build and own the tower, and then Verizon will operate on it.
So ITC's desire would be to move those existing communication devices off of their tower onto yours potentially? Is that what you're saying?
It depends on who you talk to at ITC, but yeah, I mean, we're becoming more of a hassle to them than a benefit.
Because my original question was, why couldn't you co-locate on that tower?
Right.
But you're telling me that ITC is moving away from that, co-locating on your utilities.
Well, it's more of the carriers are moving away from it because the tower structurally can't support it. And then and for us, it's such a fast-moving industry and business with technology changes and with us having to modify equipment because of capacities and that sort of thing. For us to change equipment on an ITC tower takes 3+ years. And by then, we've leapfrogged technologies. So it's just not a viable option anymore.
So the township I came from, we had a policy to minimize the number of towers, but to provide the services we could. So one of the things that we required was the applicant to look at co-locating existing towers. Have you looked at any towers around that area that would serve your heat map where you're not servicing that area today?
The only existing towers in the area are one at Hickory Hollow Golf Course, which is just to the east there, just over a mile. I actually built that site here in Macomb Township. That was done by APC Towers as well. That's that stealth tree pole. Verizon Wireless is actually working on co-locating on that site now. They're in the process, which will Hickory Howell's right here, which will address this area of service gap, and that's the nearest existing tower to this area. The other side to the west is the high school property. We actively pursued the school district over a year and a half, even with the help of the township, because we have numerous communities, Birmingham, Southfield, Grosse Pointe, I could go on and on, where we have co-located towers on light poles and football fields. Rochester's another one. But the school district just does not have any interest in allowing wireless carriers on their property. So in this area, unfortunately, there are no existing structures
this has nothing to do with the application, but I'm in that area by Hickory Hollow where my service is very, very bad. I have equipment in my house that gives me service, but if I'm driving in my subdivision, I lose all the time. So you're currently not on that Hickory Hollow tower?
Verizon is currently not, but in the process of co-locating on it.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
I have no further questions, Chairman.
Anyone else?
Mike, I just had a question for Josh. You said, I went by the property, how much, if they put the tower there, how much property would be available then for some other kind of development, say residential or anything else?
So as he mentioned, we've been working with them for quite a while on this. I think we kind of workshopped how this could be simple splits. It probably wouldn't be developed as like a condominium or anything like that. It just depends on how large they want to make the lots. I think we looked at anywhere from like 10 lots to 3 or 4 lots, just if they wanted large estate-sized lots versus smaller lots. So depending on how they lay it out, that'll be up to them. But it's most likely would be residential homes built around it.
Just a minimal amount of residential in that area?
Yeah, I think the highest one, correct me if I'm wrong, was about 10, maybe 12.
I don't even think it was that. I think it was like 8 or 9.
I think so too, yeah. It was a low amount.
Okay.
Yes, Mr. Spadafore.
Yes. Mr. Prisbillo, as far as the light tower that Verizon or the APC wants to put up, how does that compare in height to the ITC tower, if you know?
Our proposed tower is 140 feet tall. The ITC tower, I think, is 120, I think.
I don't know off the top of my head.
I'm not 100% sure on that.
I drove by the site and I saw the tower, the easement over there, and I was just wondering if it's smaller or taller.
I believe it's going to be just shorter than our proposed tower, but I'm not 100% sure on that.
Okay. There were, it looked like some old separate lots that fronted the south side of 22 Mile Road, I believe, on that site there. Have you had any communications with those neighbors as far as what you were looking to do there, or unless those homes were abandoned?
I'm not sure I'm understanding your question.
On that particular site, it looked to me, at least driving it, there were, okay, it's excluded from there, I see. That question was just answered when Josh put up on
That's
the
clear,
screen.
yeah.
Yeah, that's excluded. Okay. You have a signed purchase and sales agreement. How far along, to your knowledge, are you toward potentially a closing on this particular piece?
The purchase, it has been closed on. It's conditioned upon us receiving zoning approval
Okay,
for the project.
all right. So
But it's
you're-
essentially done.
You're in your contingency due diligence period then?
Exactly.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Nothing further.
okay, thank you, Mr.
Couple
Spadafore.
questions. If everything moved forward, when would you have this running?
We would look to be with the planning department's review of the materials that we just turned in. Upon their approval, we would look to be submitting building permit within a few weeks, and then hopefully in construction early summer.
Okay.
So as soon as possible.
Then the next question is, you're gonna have generator power below in your?
Yes, we'll have a backup power generator with a 1,000-gallon propane tank.
And it'll only be backup? It's not gonna run your daily power? It's just gonna
Correct.
be backup.
It will run once a week.
Cycle.
It's a cycle typically on Monday mornings, either at 9 a.m. or 10 a.m. for 1 hour.
Yeah. My last question is, so the one on North Avenue, I'm sure you're familiar with. It looks like a tree.
Yes.
Is this gonna look like a pole or a tree?
It's going to look like a monopole. Just
Okay.
a standard monopole.
Okay. And how
I
many,
think the other one looks like a pole too.
well, now the stuff's starting to blow off, so it grew beautiful at first, and now it don't look as good.
I haven't
They
seen
need
it, I haven't seen it
fertilizer,
since it's been
think.
built. So
So
we have multiple carriers on that site now, though.
my question is, we're talking about carriers and looking for more room and stuff. Is there a maximum, like I drive by and I see poles with maybe 100, I call them sticks, on there. And then I see poles with 15. what, is there a maximum, minimum? How do you guys do that? Just give me the short version.
So each level that you're looking at would be a carrier. So each vertical level would be a carrier. And then typically there's like a triangular like tripod mount. And then those antennas on there would be one carrier. So those levels would depend on how many carriers you can get on a monopole tower. Any type of tower would depend on the structural integrity of the tower. So this one's designed for Verizon and 2 additional carriers, which is pretty standard nowadays with the number of wireless carriers that there are.
So if your neighbors ITC neighbors asked you, can we move to do you got the capacity to
Yes.
accept all of that's there?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And
There's
but-
just one carrier, it's just T-Mobile is on that tower.
And then would that max you? Or would you?
No, then we would have room for another additional carrier.
Okay. And roughly, how many carriers, what is there, 10 people?
No, there's currently 4 national carriers.
So them are, when you say carrier,
Like
that's a national.
Verizon, Sprint, AT&T, and Dish Network.
Okay.
Are-
So that's basically all the people that use these poles to transmit.
Correct.
Interesting. Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Okay, anyone else? Are we good? Then I'd like to open this, we have folks in the audience, so I'd like to open this to the public with a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Oliver. Supported by Mr. Meyerly. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes. Folks, if there's anyone that would like to come up now and talk about this agenda item, now is your time. Anyone? No one. Mr. Oliver, would you like to make a motion to close?
I will.
Okay, Mr. Meyerly? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion is passed, and the public portion is now closed. Back to commissioners. Do we have a motion on this item?
Can I ask a procedural question of Mr. Box?
You may supersede.
Mr. Box, where I came from, the Planning Commission could not approve special land uses, but in Macomb, we can approve special.
Correct.
Thank you. Very good, thank you.
Okay. Do we have a,
Well, in this too, also just a clarification is Mr. Tuckfield, I know, has addressed it pretty thoroughly in the past several meetings as far as the timing of it, since we're being asked, I think, to approve both a special land use and a site plan. So that may require 2 separate motions.
Yes. It would be preferable to have 2 separate motions, one for special land use first,
Mis-
and then address the site plan. And as I mentioned before, the site plan, it would be preferred by staff that if it is an approval, that'd be conditioned on staff being able to review and finalize what they just turned in yesterday.
And Mr. Chairman, I would add one other thing for consideration if Mr. Spatafora was contemplating a motion, just that the site plan or the special land use be contingent specifically upon the site plan, because we have had issues where the site plan will change, but the special land use runs concurrent because it was not motioned that way, and so we could come back with a completely different site plan and still have approved the special land use, so.
So that's special, I didn't make the motion, that still has to be called, I believe, but just it was a point of question to the chair. So you're saying that, and just to clarify, the special land use, if this commission is entitled to go forward and make such a motion to approve, it should be conditioned on the site plan approval?
That would be my recommendation. Don't think we're required to, but I believe, Mr. Box, I don't recall the exact site, but I would think this was about 1.5 years ago.
Yep.
We had an unusual special land use that had been approved in the past, and we did not contingent it upon the site plan. The site plan changed. In my opinion, the special land use should have been invalidated, and yet it was not because we did not properly motion it that way. And sometimes I think that's less necessary than others, but I would recommend in this case that we tie them together.
okay, anybody? Then I'll make the motion to approve the site plan, correct, Mr. Box?
Now, let's do the special land use first.
What was it?
I think we should do the special land use first.
Okay, then I'll make the motion to approve the special land use as presented by Verizon Wireless and APC Towers parcel. Wait a minute, hold on, that's better. 0827-200-026, based on the fact that all 8 standards for the special land use have been definitively met, and all other applicable ordinances have been met, and our discussion tonight.
And I think has been mentioned also, Mr. Chair, in your motion, you probably want to make it condition that the planning staff confirm that the submittal, can you clarify? what
That was for the site plan,
For the
not for
site.
special land use.
Stand corrected.
Okay. All right, there's my
But
motion.
don't we want to condition the approval of the special land use related to the site plan as explained by Mr. Tuckville?
Say that again.
I think we want to condition the special land use connected to the site plan based on the issues that were explained by Mr. Tuckville.
Okay, we'll add that to the motion then.
Condition on site plan.
The special land use should be conditioned on the,
The site plan presented this evening.
All right.
I think that'd be the correct
Yeah.
thing.
So does that sound right, Mr. Box?
Yes.
Okay, then we'll add that to the motion.
Mr. Chairman, I would support that.
What's that?
I would support your motion.
Okay.
Second.
So I've made the motion to approve
you second.
the site plan, or no, the special land use, and it has been supported by Mr. Tuckfield. Mr. Spatafora, please call the roll.
Mr. Tremblay,
Yes.
Mr. Meyerly,
Yes.
Mr. Oliver,
Yes.
and I did it out of order again. That should be Mr. Hardy
Yes.
and Mr. Tuckfield.
Yes.
Mr. Spatafora votes yes.
Okay. Motion for the special land use has been approved. All right. Do we have somebody that'd like to make the motion for the site plan?
I'll take a crack at it if you don't mind.
All right, take a crack.
I motion to approve the site plan as presented for Verizon Wireless and APC Towers parcel number 08-27-200-026, based on the fact that all 8 standards are special for all applicable ordinance standards have been met, and conditioned on receiving a fully executed purchase agreement, and also conditioned that the planning department, based on the review of the updated plan submitted yesterday, meets their approval.
All right. And I'll go ahead and second that. So, Mr. Spatafora, please call the roll.
Mr. Tremblay,
Yes.
Mr. Hardy,
Yes.
Mr. Oliver,
Yes.
Mr. Tuckfield,
Yes.
Mr. Meyerly,
Yes.
Mr. Spatafora votes yes.
Okay.
Thank you very
sir.
much for your time.
All right. Okay. Next item is public comments on non-agenda items. If there's anyone that would like to speak, now would be the time. Come to the podium and share your thoughts.
Good evening. My name is Marlene Thompson at 21133 25 Mile Road. I was just wondering if the planning board knows what, there's some business, construction or business on our road, and they're laying orange and blue tubing, and we were wondering what this tubing is, what the purpose of it is, and what the length of this project is. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Now's the time. Sure.
John Parkinson. I'd like to thank this board for approving the revised site plan at parcel number 0836452022. I want to say I'm not surprised by the no vote. While I seen the reservations, I live there. Nobody's going to walk back there. I mean, there used to be vagrants that would come back, live in the wooded area, but nobody's going to walk back there. Nobody's going to come back there. And the fact that Sheetz is going to maintain the property, I'm okay with that. But again, like I said, I'm surprised. Last time when Utuma Oil owned it, there was a motion made by a gentleman on this board, and I couldn't find it. I tried to find it to restrict hours of operation for that drive-through that would have been at that gas station. Because of the special land use, there was a motion made and approved and attached to that. Now, I can't find that anymore, so it's just hearsay. But I remember a member of this board doing that, and it was unanimously voted on. and the special land use would have limited our hours. So at this point, we now have a noise ordinance in effect, and that building affects me so much because my bedroom window backs up to that property. There is a drive-through that's 24/7. It concerns me. So I guess we'll deal with that as the issues come, right? So when it becomes a nuisance, I want to know, who do I call? Do I call you guys first, or do I call the sheriff's department? Do I make noise complaints? I'm just going to keep records, and I've got a decibel meter, so I guess I'll keep screenshots of that and do what I got to do. But I mean, they want to be good neighbors. We want to be good neighbors, but we also want our peace and tranquility too. Thank you, board.
All right, thank you, sir. All right, anyone else? Sir? Would you like to come up? You sure? Okay. I ask everybody, make sure. Ma'am, would your husband like to come up, do you think? No? Okay, all right, just checking. All right, let's move on to commissioners' comments.
Mr. Chairman, I think if you give out Lions tickets, you could probably get people up next meeting. This is a little tip.
So,
Just a quick follow-up. Josh, was you going to respond to the resident? Because I thought we did talk about that hours at that gas station.
I can go back and check the record and see what the motion was made.
Okay, can
For
you
sure.
do that?
I can do that.
Thank
yes.
you.
And then the other comments that were made, I didn't hear the location of the project with the tubing. She questioned a project and wanted to know the duration, but I didn't hear the location.
On 25 Mile Road.
Okay, then off the top of my head, I don't know, but I can get that information for you and find out what it is. And then with regards to the comment about the noise ordinance, so our code enforcement has a decibel reader. My staff has a decibel reader, and we have provided one to the sheriff's department. So you can call any of those three folks. Obviously, if it's after hours, you should call the sheriff's department, because if you call here, no one's going to answer the phone. But we do have several of those, so.
okay. Thank you, Mr. Box. All right, commissioners, anybody have anything they'd like to share? Mr. Tuckfield.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, a couple things. One, just to piggyback on what Charlie was mentioning with the motion, that was my memory too, although we do enough of these, obviously, memories can be incorrect. That's why it's good we have the record. I just want to verify, Josh, I know that there's a sunset period on how long we keep the video. Do we still have video for that meeting? Do you know?
I believe we do.
Okay, very good. If you could verify it, and I know obviously Mr. Parkinson has pretty close concern on that property. If we can make sure we provide him the video, I would say the full video. I know occasionally when we get into video, people can have concern. That way, if it is what he says or if it isn't what he said, that way we're all on the same page. So I can't speak to Mr. Parkinson. All I can say is if Mr. Box is good enough to get it for you, that way we can all be on the same page. We can have the whole.
I don't want to say I'm 100%, but I'm fairly confident I will be able to find that.
Okay. Assuming that we have it, which I know there is a point where we don't keep them, and I think that was 2 years ago, so I'm not sure where that line is. So, the other item that I had this evening, it affects us, but it's not directly our direct concern at the moment, but I wanted to bring it up for residents. There's a series of bills that are going through the House of Representatives at the moment. HB 5529 through 32 and HB 5581 through 85. Their purpose, as stated by the individuals who have brought them forward, is to try to help with property values, making it so it's easier for residents of Michigan to buy houses, mostly to decrease the cost of housing. I've read them. They're fairly straightforward to read. I believe that they're pretty injurious to our township, and actually our township might be worse off if these bills were passed than most other areas in Michigan. Generally speaking, one of the things it tries to do is it tries to mandate various portions of the zoning ordinance that traditionally has been handled by the local municipality. So it gives minimum allowances for parcels. It caps how where you can cap a home size, and it allows different things by right on the property. One of the things that I found as I've discussed this with people is that those advocating for it are saying that it is a property right issue. So for example, it allows a resident in a residential area to put a duplex on their property by right. It makes it so that you can build a home as small as 500 square feet. It allows you to put a mobile home or a manufactured home on any residential lot. It moves basically these decisions to the state, and while in theory it does give the property owner a greater degree of latitude in what they can build, it moves that ability to decide what's best for the municipality from someplace that's local to someplace that's not local. So all of us members on the board, we have not raised money. We have not spent an exceptional amount of time getting elected. We were people who were local, who were tapped by the municipality to try to help with these decisions. Our neighbors know us. They have our phone numbers. We live here. We work here. And transferring these decisions to representatives in Lansing distances that control and that change significantly. So I think people should look into these. I'll get into just a brief more specifics in a second, but I think people should look into these and talk to their state representatives and specifically advocate to keep zoning locally. For some people, it's a matter of additional control, and I don't want to frame it like that, but I think every municipality is different. So mandating zoning for Macomb Township that is the same as Marquette, or is the same as Detroit, or is the same as Flint, or somewhere in mid-Michigan, I think is a very unwise idea in practice, and it also takes away from the ability for people to affect their own homes. So on a general level, I think it's not good, and I hope people look into it. But a few of the specifics I just want to bring up. It allows by right parcels as small as 1,500 square feet. So as an example, our standard 70 by 120 lot is roughly 8,400 square feet. So if you picture a normal lot in a residential area, it would allow like 5 or 6 lots in that same area. It's incredibly close. It requires site plans to be brought to the Planning Commission within 60 days. Sometimes this can be fine, sometimes this can be not, but it puts an artificial cap on the ability to properly review things. It restricts municipalities from holding residents to build homes any bigger than 500 square feet. This is a difficult one to word because it's kind of a double negative, but basically it allows people to build 500 square foot houses. 500 square foot houses is roughly the size of a standard conference room. It's not a huge amount of area. It allows mobile homes and manufactured homes in residential areas. It decreases setbacks, and again, this is by right, so there's nothing the municipality could do about it. It would allow a duplex in a single-family zone, and it would allow in-law units. I've been doing a lot of reading in this, and it could significantly expand the amount of residents we have in the township. So not only would it change our neighborhoods, it would also affect our infrastructure. It's very far-reaching, and while I'm being a little bit prosy on it, I'm not sure that I've seen any bills come before the state legislature that I've been aware of that would affect our home specifically more than these. It would be an extremely drastic change or potentially drastic change in what we're living with, and it could potentially be extremely expensive for the taxpayer. So there's a lot of information out there. If anybody hears this and wants to understand more, feel free to get a hold of me, but I would recommend you look into it. And once you understand what it is, I would recommend that you contact your state rep and just give your thoughts on whether or not you believe it's a good idea or not. And that's all I had. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Do we know when the vote's going to be?
The short answer is no. I believe they're going into recess, so I believe the current expectation is there won't be an active vote for at least 3 weeks.
Okay.
But it's in a fairly small committee in Lansing. I believe it's a 5-member committee, and that committee is generally known for either passing bills very quickly or they just sit there and do nothing, is my understanding. So there's not a good recognition on when these are, and so I think the priority is to understand them and to advocate against them if possible, and as soon as possible.
And Mr. Box, this would affect the master plan for all the townships and cities?
Correct. It would affect our zoning ordinance, it would affect our master plan, it would affect a lot of things, yes.
Yeah, okay. Okay, good job, Mr. Tuckfield.
So if we're all concerned with what Aaron had to talk about, which, great discussion. I've not done as much homework as you have on it, but I'm aware of that. Those bills, and I have written to my state representatives opposing it. So I would suggest that the residents, if they're concerned about it, that they write their state representatives, make sure they vote the right way.
Okay, anyone else?
I'll concur with Mr. Tremblay and also applaud the thorough explanation by Mr. Tuckfield. I too contacted my state representatives on kind of a personal note. One of our state representatives used to be a planning commissioner, among other things, which was quite disturbing, at least to my eyes, doing that. And I'm not sure, other than for political reasons, he's seeing things clearly as far as local zoning, local control, bordering now on constitutional issues. So I too, support my colleagues here, Mr. Tuckfield, Mr. Tremblay, what they said, and perhaps it's shared by other commissioners here at this table.
Good.
You got one-
Basically, a follow-up. Aaron, thank you for explaining that to the public very well. Yeah, call your state rep, call your legislation. This is a big issue for residents of Macomb Township and throughout the state. So this is something you don't want to sit on.
I got one other issue, if you don't mind.
No, go ahead.
There's a lot of concern in communities around the state with regard to data centers. And I think it would behoove us as a planning commission to bone up on data centers and look at what we can do to protect our residents from the negatives that are associated, that are out there with data centers. And I'm not an expert on that, but I intend to start doing some homework on that area very shortly.
Just to follow up on that, Mr. Tremblay, was you on the board when we had, they had the data center Zoom meeting and where we could all get in? Was you on? Did you?
I was
You probably
on.
were out.
I was on, but I was out.
Yeah. If you could track that down, possibly it's been recorded. That was enormous information. There was some things that we learned here, just watch it. I come to the township and watched it. It'd take me 2 hours to figure out on my computer to get a Zoom meeting, so it was easier to drive over here. And I'm proud to admit it. So I sat with Josh and Aaron on that, and it was a great meeting. Try to get the recording of that. You will learn a lot of good information. I don't want to say Macomb Township is not the right spot, but I'm not so sure it's the ideal spot. Just in so much of it goes into the power that's used and needed. And you have to have power unless you could generate your own power. If you can't generate your own power on a data center, then you're going to consume a lot of power.
I mean, they could build their own power plant if it's an issue. I mean, when
That's-
I was in the
that's common,
automotive
and that's
industry, some of our plants had their
Another
own power
discussion,
plant.
but if you get a chance, get a hold of that video. Josh could probably get you lined up to it.
Yeah.
It's
I've
well
already
worth
got
seeing.
I've already got the word out. We spoke earlier about it, and there was a presentation by the Michigan Planning Association and a different one by MML. And I'm trying to track down. I watched both of them live, so I didn't need the link. I have the Zoom link, but I'm trying to track down the web link so he can watch them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I do believe they are archived. And there's, because I missed the meeting, but I saw it on, about a week or so later, they had it online where you could view it.
Charlie, has the board had any discussion on this issue yet, or?
Nothing's really come to us. So, I mean,
Just being proactive on the
are
issue.
you saying like a public meeting?
No, just being proactive on the issue, have some discussion on it, and what there might be some concerns, like some of the other communities are
Number one, you
expressing.
got to be careful with the Opens Meeting Act.
Yeah.
So either it's a public meeting or.
Well, that's what I
gotta-
mean.
You got to be very careful about that.
I think, Charlie, I did bring it up about 2 or 3 months ago, and Mr. Box had indicated at the time that there had been some discussions internally and that staff were talking about different things that they could bring forward. And then I believe they had actually gone through the very early part of an application process some time ago. So it was something that they were familiar with, and they were going to bring back some recommendations at some point. But I would agree, Mr. Tremblay, it's certainly a hot button issue and something that is easier to be proactive on than reactive.
It's an issue. It's a big issue. And again, I think personally, the power is the biggest issue. It
Yeah,
just
power, water, and noise.
noise, to me, what I seen can get minimized. The water now, it appears that they're using these, what they call closed loops. So if they consume a million gallons of water to fill it, it's like a boiler in a house. Once you get it full, but you got to chill that water down to cool them computers, and that consumes power. Then you got to run the computers, more power. It's incredible how much power they use. So anybody downstream or in that area of that power system is going to get their power reduced. So it's a big deal. The power.
And they don't employ a lot of people in those facilities either.
Yeah, I'm sure they don't. It's not like having an engineering factory or even an automotive factory or whatever. Yeah. But
I think the way technology is moving, 10, 15 years from now, we may have an empty building if this was something we did.
well, technology goes so fast. I mean, just think of your cell phone and how far that's advanced in a short period of time. So, 30 years from now, they could be dismantling all these data centers because, they're all on a satellite in the sky.
To your point, Charlie, I use a lot of AI. I follow advances with it. Right now, typically when you get into coding, the name of the game is usually making things more efficient. And right now, there's so much money in AI that they're not solving things by being more efficient. They're solving things by brute force. So that's one of the reasons the data centers are becoming so much bigger is instead of making it so it's easier to run it, they're just expanding their capacity. So they're expanding their capacity. People are understanding better how to use it. The use cases are going up, and it's actually becoming a national security thing. You can make the case that it's as much of an arms race between us and China as anything else. And so one of the concerns that I think is out there is that at some point it could become a national security thing, and we might have different legislation and stuff from the federal level that forces us into this. And it's unknown when there will be enough value to go back to making it more efficient as opposed to just expanding its range. In a typical cycle, you might do that, but it's evolving at such a rate that it's easier to follow the evolution than it is to make it more efficient. That's what's driving the demand for it, even if the demand is not even being used. If you look at the energy consumption from AI on a graph over the past 3 years, it's an exponential curve, and it's not going to change anytime soon.
And just I got a question, on that issue, nobody has come to our community and asked for a site plan or anything for a data center.
Nobody has submitted anything for a data center, no.
Okay.
Are there spots that would support that in the township?
But they need a lot of land, so
Yeah.
the spots in our township would be very limited where they could fit.
Okay.
There were 2 independent Zoom meetings, is that correct?
I believe so, yes. There was a MML and,
Did tune in from my office, the one from MTA, Michigan Townships Association, that was one, and then there was another one with the planning.
yeah, the Michigan Planning Association did one, yep.
All right. Anyone else? Okay.
Happy Easter.
There you go. All right, ZBA, Mr. Tuckfield.
Mr. Chairman, our ZBA for March was canceled. I'm not sure if we have one for April. I'm deferring to Mr. Box.
You do.
And I have not seen the agenda, so nothing else to report other than apparently we have a meeting in April.
All right. Macomb Township Board of Trustees.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Oliver.
We had two meetings, March 11th and February 25th. The February meeting, Pathway Gap Closure Program, we did quite a few of those. And I was going to talk about the data center, but we already talked about it. And then the March 11th, I think the big event was, we bought the house next to Fire Station 1, and we're going to expand that parking lot, and then that's going to be parking back there, and it'll help a lot for that situation, because we are very short of parking over there. So that's going to be approximately $834,000 to put that in, and we hired a new maintenance worker, and that's about it.
All right.
Hey, Charlie?
Yes,
is
sir.
that house, is that the old one that they were gonna buy? That
The
was
blue
kind-
roof, the blue tarped house is the
Okay.
one that we end up buying. There various issues with it. We end up buying the property and tore it down, and now we're building parking lot. And
Okay.
it'll be used for the police and fire.
Right, okay.
Awesome. Okay, Planning Director comments.
I'll just note that both the next Planning Commission and the one following, we do have agenda items, so we will have at least the next two Planning Commissions.
Mr. Orlando?
No
Attorney
comments this
comments.
evening.
All right. Then I'd like to make a motion to adjourn. Support. At, 8 o'clock. Supported by Mr. Tuckfield. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, motion passes.